Welcome to another episode of the brand called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome a well respected, well known communication expert and strategist from Atlanta, Georgia, USA, Laura Doman. Laura, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you. Laura, as I mentioned, is a communication strategist. So, Laura, my first question for you, what made you realize that communication skill can matter more than technical expertise in winning clients and influence?
I would say it's because I see incredibly qualified people just lose opportunities just to people who simply cannot communicate or
Mhm.
can communicate better.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily smarter or better. The expert with the flat delivery, the weak eye, the contact that doesn't really take place, they're the ones that are going to get passed over by the person who just comes across as more believable,
Mm.
more connected with the person on the other end of that call,
Yeah.
and more confident. People don't buy expertise first, they're going to be buying trust.
Mm.
And communication is how trust is going to be transmitted.
Very well said. Thank you. You describe helping people move from overlooked to unforgettable. What
hmm
are the most common reasons talented professionals tend to get overlooked?
It's usually not a problem with talent, it's a
Mhm.
delivery problem.
Mm.
People sound rehearsed instead of real. Most folks just want to default to overloading individuals with information
Mm.
instead of connection. They're going to hide behind the slides, the jargon, or professionalism,
Yeah.
or they're just so worried about sounding polished that they just strip all personality out of their communication.
Mm.
So you have to feel like you care, that you're there, and you're actually having a communication.
Right. Can you give me an example of someone you may have helped?
Oh, absolutely.
Mm.
I was working with the vice president of a nonprofit organization,
Mhm.
also a PhD, very cerebral. She knew her
Wow.
stuff inside and out, and she was the voice of that organization.
Mm.
However, she didn't feel comfortable in that position, and
Mm.
she would hide behind slides that were just jammed with words, and she would read every single one of those.
Mm.
She didn't connect with her audience. Nobody
Mm.
retained all that.
Yeah.
When we got rid of it all, reduced it to just a picture and maybe a few words, and let her personality come out, got her moving, let the personality come behind from behind the intellect and shine through,
Mm.
that's when all of a sudden she became engaging as a speaker and was
Mm.
so much more effective.
Amazing. Thank you. Laura, in an AI saturated world, why do you believe human presence has become even more valuable?
Well, I think we can pretty much see it all around us. AI has made content so abundant and
Mm.
authenticity scarce.
Yeah.
I mean, we're drowning in perfectly formatted, perfectly optimized communication. It feels completely soulless. There's
Mm.
no emotion, there's no feeling, there's no real story. It's just information.
Yeah.
What people value is humanity, is presence, the emotional connection, the stories, the nuance, the energy. And people are craving something that just feels real. And the
Mm.
ones that are going to stand out are the ones who can make people feel seen, understood, and emotionally engaged,
Mm.
especially through a screen or even through the voice.
Mm. Well said. Many people confuse polish with impact. How do you define true executive presence?
Well, it's not about sounding important. It's about creating confidence in other people.
Mm.
The true presence is clarity under pressure.
Mm.
It's emotional control. It's being able to command attention without forcing it. It's warmth plus authority all at the same time.
Mm.
Some of the most powerful communicators I've worked with are not the flashiest people in the room.
Mm.
They're the clearest, the calmest, and the most believable.
Mm. Amazing. What does actor driven presence mean? And how is it different from conventional communication coaching? And give me an example if you can.
Absolutely. I am a corporate turned creative. I used to be a corporate sales exec, and now I am an actor and a voice actor, and I'm still
Mm.
working professionally.
Mm.
And it's not being an actor and reaching to the very back of the room. That
Mm.
is stage.
Yeah.
When you're on camera, When you're up close, it's more of a one-to-one communication. And
Mm.
people want to be natural and believable because people are looking at the entire face and the eyes to see whether they can believe you and whether you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And so it is not big. It's coming from within.
Mm.
It is that credibility that comes from true lived emotion for being in that situation and reaching out and having a heart to heart talk with somebody else.
Mm.
That's what's going to come across on Zoom, in videos, podcasts, and webinars and presentations. A lot of other coaches might focus on the scripts, the
Mm.
posture, the presentation structure.
Yeah.
But what I do is focus on human behavior.
Mm.
What's the subtext? What are you thinking? What's the reason to have that communication? The
Mm.
intention, the emotional connection. There are also vocal dynamics. That's very true. It's important, but it's not just camera relationship and how you sound. It's
Mm.
being believable and knowing how to be able to bring yourself down
Mm.
and talk to that little camera because there's a person on the other side of it.
Very interesting. What are the first three things someone should fix if they want to appear more credible on Zoom calls?
Oh, I was talking about this just last week to a room full
Mhm.
of speakers.
Mm.
Number one, eyeline. Stop staring at yourself
Mm.
somewhere or at somebody else in a Zoom box and start looking right into the camera.
Mm.
That's where you're going to have the engagement. That's where people are. And the moment you
Right.
look away and you're looking down or around,
Yeah.
it's broken. And
Mm.
number two, vocal variety. Most people flatten out on Zoom, or heaven forbid, they're reading from a script. You don't
Mm.
want to be doing that. You can
Mm.
see your eyes moving, your head is moving, and you sound different when you're reading.
Yeah.
And the only people who like being read to are small children at bedtime,
Absolutely.
usually. There
Absolutely.
are different ways with pacing and pausing and to be able to be more dramatic.
Mm.
And physical stillness. Don't be all over the place. There are methods to be able to control that. But when you have a calm physical presence, it's going to read as leadership.
Mm. Amazing. And every one of these 3 points are so relevant, and I'm sure my viewers and listeners will take away some great stuff from each of these 3 points.
I
Laura,
hope
can
so.
presence be learned, or are some people naturally gifted communicators?
Well, there are always those who are naturally gifted, but it can absolutely be learned. Some people might start off with some natural charisma, but the strong communicators are almost always made, not born. It's a
Hmm.
skill set. Actors train it. Broadcasters are training in it. Tom speakers are going to be training in the communications.
Hmm.
The good news that even some of these small adjustments can make some massive shifts. It's just how somebody is perceived.
Yeah.
So, and it's talking to a human being, not
Hmm.
to a faceless audience.
Hmm. Interesting. What mistakes do entrepreneurs make when recording videos for LinkedIn, YouTube, or their own websites?
Oh, I say the biggest one is trying to sound professional or
Hmm.
perfect instead
Hmm.
of sounding human.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, perfection, whatever that might mean to somebody, is boring. We got the AI bots for that.
Hmm.
Oftentimes it's emotionless, it's soulless. We don't relate to it.
Yeah.
We relate to the human train wreck. What happened to you?
Hmm.
How did you grow from it? What did you do? What can we take from that?
Hmm.
That's what people love. The problem is when people are creating something for, let's say, visual or audio digestion,
Hmm.
they're overscripting. They're memorizing, so they're not talking to somebody, they're thinking and they're
Hmm.
talking to themselves in their head.
Hmm.
They are speaking and throwing things at people instead of having a conversation. And
Right.
they forget the delivery because they're so focused on the content.
Correct.
And if they don't have the emotional commitment, who cares? If you don't sound like you're interested in your own thing, why would anybody else be?
Hmm. I agree. I mean, I've seen so many people who would love to come and talk even on my podcast, and then they keep on preparing for it, and then before you know it, I know that they're reading out a response to all the questions, which just makes it so unnatural.
It
Uh,
is.
Go ahead, please. Yeah.
I was just going to say, going back to my vice president of that nonprofit,
Mm.
I had to keep telling her, you're already the expert. You know all this. Now
Correct.
just explain it and give it to folks in a simple manner. If they want to know more, they will ask, and that's what you want, that interaction.
Absolutely. Well said. Moving on, Laura, what role does emotional intelligence play in persuasive communication?
Well, you're not just a mouthpiece transmitting information, you're reading people. You're
Mm,
adjusting in real time. You're getting the emotional context
mm,
and you're seeing where folks are. Do they understand? Or in your mind, do people usually understand at this point?
mm,
So you vary it. You take them on a little bit of a emotional journey, a little roller coaster. You know when to push, maybe when to pause, when to
mm,
simplify, when to empathize, to build up suspense, to resolve it. That's all part of storytelling when we all sat around campfires.
mm.
That's when we lean in and want to know more. Bring them to you like a magnet. Don't force it out on them. And
Very
people then
interesting.
will decide that you're worth listening to and want to know more.
Very interesting. Very interesting. How can introverts build strong on-camera presence without pretending to be extroverts?
Well, just stop acting like extroverts doing what you think you need to be.
Yeah, yeah,
Some of the best actors
yeah.
and speakers, any type of performance artists, they're often introverts.
Mm,
Why? Because they're thoughtful, they're grounded, they're observant, and they listen.
mm,
Presence is not about loudness,
yeah.
it's about connection. And
Mm,
people do very well on camera when they speak intimately and you're focusing on something very specific. You're
mm,
sincere, you're calm, you already know your authority, it comes across, and you're speaking to one person instead of a faceless, morphless audience.
mm. What are the biggest communication mistakes senior executives make during a high stakes presentation? And if you have an
Oh.
interesting anecdote without any names, do share one.
Well, I keep coming back to my VP because she's fitting all your boxes. Overloading people with information is a huge one. I
Yeah.
mean, I was even doing a workshop for a company, and they wanted a better way for their people, their consultants, their technical analysts, to succinctly say what they do,
Mm,
understand what the client wanted to do, and be able to bridge the difference.
mm,
And the problem is when people know so much and they want everybody to get it, they don't boil it down to a few digestible, memorable things.
mm,
They want to give them the entire buffet and it's overwhelming.
mm,
And people are not going to remember those details. They're going to remember the essential story, the essential points, and why it matters to them.
mm.
More data does not equal more persuasion. They're
Right.
going to remember what you believe, why, and that they're going to feel it, they're going to believe, and then they will intellectually justify.
Mm, mm. I've heard this many times from senior leaders. When I was very young in the corporate world, and someone told me that, if you don't blow your own trumpet, nobody else will. Right?
That's important.
It's important. But then,
It is you do need to,
correct,
because if you're going to be the best kept secret, nobody will know about you.
absolutely. But then I understood my a sequel to that, which was that if you don't blow your own trumpet, nobody else will. But don't blow it so hard that it starts to hurt people's ears.
Oh, that's a great one. I love it. And
So,
oftentimes you're part of an orchestra.
correct, correct. Well said. Laura, my next question: how do you coach clients to project authority while still remaining warm and relatable?
Well, authority without any warmth is just going to be intimidating. And warmth without authority just feels weak.
Hmm,
The magic is in the combination. I work on things like vocal tone, pacing, listening, the eye contact I talked about, and
hmm,
emotional accessibility.
hmm,
It's often just a matter of being able to slow down, to pause, to
hmm,
soften any intensity that doesn't need to be there, or just honestly becoming more conversational. That's the number one thing most voice actors are being asked to do.
yeah.
Be conversational. Act as if somebody is listening to you and they're giving you an answer right then and there. The
Hmm,
goal is to sound like a confident expert, not like a scripted corporate robot.
hmm. Interesting. What does subtext mean in communication, and why is it so powerful in business conversations?
It's what people are going to sense underneath your words,
Hmm,
your intention. And oftentimes you go in there with an idea of, I want to help you. I can help you grow from six figures to seven figures. I can remove that bottleneck. I know I can do it. And you might be saying that you're confident, but that intention, that subtext is going to inform the rest of you that people read. It's going to
hmm,
be your body language, your basing, your voice, and your energy. And you want to make sure that it's all in line because otherwise people see a dichotomy. And our BS meters are working overtime. AI has done that for us.
Yeah.
We are looking for those who are embodying that confidence, that truth, that humanity, and not somebody who is just deeply insecure and looking for attention. We can find that incongruence.
Mm,
So we got to make sure that the words and our perception of them match. And that's why subtext is often going to be much more persuasive than anything else. You don't
mm,
even have to say something.
mm,
Sometimes, if you're just looking at the person and really taking in what they say and they could see it, they could tell it in your face.
mm. And would subtext, the way you define it, also be reflected in body language?
It's all part of the same thing.
Mm,
It is mental, and mental informs the physical. And actors do the very same thing. Before we start something, there is a reason for a particular scene or storyline to happen.
yeah.
Oftentimes, I tell people, what just happened? We
Mm,
call it the moment before.
mhm,
What just happened that made you want to share this? Especially if you're doing a video.
mm,
Rather than saying, hi, my name is Laura and I talk about corporate communication. No, 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 no.
mm,
Oh, yeah, it was rather hard when you were standing in front of a group of 200
yeah.
people or creating a video and you're just looking at a little blinking light. I mean,
Mm,
you could tell what the difference is. I'm bringing that intention of wanting to help you and that something was already happening that initiated this conversation that leads you into it. And automatically you're going to sound much more engaged and more in the flow of it.
how interesting. You have a line which which fascinated me, and I'm going to quote you. Boring keeps you broke, presence gets you paid. What does this
Yes.
mean in practical business terms?
Well, it usually means talent is enough. It's not enough. You can have the greatest content in the world, but if you can't deliver it and communicate, nobody's going to feel anything and nobody's going to care.
Mm,
If you have presentations that are forgettable, if your videos are flat, let's say that your sales calls are lacking connection and that you don't get attention, you're going to lose opportunities because people
yeah.
are going to be bored, they're not going to believe you, and they're going to go on to the next person.
Mm,
The presentation is also so much of a presence. That's creating the trust, which
mm,
drives decisions, which,
mm,
hey, drives revenue.
mm. Amazing. I've time for two more questions for you, Laura. Uh,
Sure.
do you think AI generated avatars and synthetic voices will ever replace real human communication?
Oh, we've been debating this in the voiceover world for a few years.
Yeah.
For certain transactional uses, for certain things, AI will, absolutely.
Mm,
But when it comes to leadership, persuasion, trust building, coaching, influence, sales, and emotionally meaningful communication, no.
mm,
I don't really think most people want to hear a story told by a robot.
mm.
It's going to simulate the human experience,
Yeah.
but the emotion is not going to be there.
Mm,
It's that emotional authenticity that makes everything resonate with us.
mm.
Because as people, we respond to nuance, spontaneity, the imperfection, stumbling over words, dealing with problems when the tech goes out. It's that vulnerability and it's the emotional truth.
Yeah.
AI can imitate it, but it's not the real thing, and we can tell the difference. Like I said, our BS meters are working overtime. And the
Absolutely.
more artificial communication becomes, the more valuable the real human presence will be.
Mm, mm. Yeah, I can't imagine, a bot or a robot reading a book to my granddaughter. She'll probably throw the robot and the book out of the window, But
No, no, no. She's going to pick up a phone and she's going to scroll to hear somebody else
uh,
when they were really talking with her. Maybe a memory of
absolutely,
a dear grandparent. Yeah.
absolutely. And my last question for you, Laura. For
Sure.
young professionals early in their careers, what communication skill would give them the highest return on effort?
Learning to speak clearly,
Hmm.
confidently, and conversationally under pressure. If you can talk in a way that makes people trust you quickly, in
Yeah.
meetings, interviews, presentations, networking, video, whatever you do, you can accelerate almost every opportunity in your career.
Mm,
Technical skills are going to get you considered, they will get you in the door, but it's the communication skills that are going to get you chosen.
mm. Very interesting. And on that note, I just want to say, Laura, what a fascinating conversation this one has been. You know, it's been an incredible 101 on communication that my viewers and listeners around the world will certainly learn a lot from. Thank you for answering all my questions. Thank you so much for talking to us about communication, strategy, and all the challenges we tend to face. Thank you again and good luck.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure being here.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.